I'm a feelings hoarder. Like if my mind was a closet, you'd open it up and you'd be like, whoa, you see heartbreak, you'd see this, you'd see, like, I just hold on to things, and then I've just managed to use it for good rather than, because I suppose what happens, people store all these feelings and then it sends them to a state of depression or different things kick in after that. But I think I've managed to use it for better rather than worse.
You almost like process them, feel them, let them kind of pass, understand them. And it's a good process to go through, because like you said, a lot of people will hold on to stuff and that will cause, it will build and it will grow and it will turn into something else. Or it's like going back to your arm, it's like you store that and then eventually it builds up and it gets to a point where it's unbearable. And it's the same thing that we do with emotions. It's like, and I've been so guilty of that in the past, like holding on to stuff and not expressing it, and then you get to a point where you're like, it almost like cripples you.
So did you feel like doing the podcast was a good form of release?
In a way, because it's like, I like to have these types of conversations, and it's like, you can't go to the pub with your mates and have a conversation like this. Do you know what I mean?
It's too loud as well in there.
It's too loud for a start. But do you know what I mean? It's like there's only certain situations where you can have these types of longer form, in-depth conversations to try and understand someone. And it's like generally when you're out with your mates, or even if you go for dinner sometimes, it's not really like the occasion. And it's like, this has kind of been a release of that side of my mind, I guess. Like in these, sit down an hour, a bit more than that or whatever, and have a conversation.
Because you got the mind and the body and the heart, like, it's stronger than we think. And I think it always, it sounds so weird, than we think, and I think, but and it always gives you what you need. Similar to a plant, like if a plant needs light and there's light coming from a certain direction, it tries to grow towards that. So my arm being affected and needing padding forced me to walk how I was walking, because that was padding it. And I think in terms of you saying, also storing emotions and stuff, I think maybe sometimes we don't even realize why we navigate into certain directions, and sometimes it's that. Do you go therapy?
No. So the backstory in a nutshell, because I've spoken about it a few times on here, but for you, like, I went through a big period of my life where I would hold on to like everything, unable to express sadness, unable to express like hurt, unable to express sometimes extreme joy. And I went through this period of just like this big grey dark cloud just over me all the time, until it got to a point where it, again with your arm, it gets to a point where it's unbearable and you can't hold on to it anymore. And I was with an ex-girlfriend this like 6-7 years ago. We were in her room, we were having an argument, and she just turned around to me, she was like, why aren't you saying anything? And that caused me to just release. That just one question just caused me to release, and I just burst into tears, and I was just like, I couldn't even say anything. All I could say was, I don't feel like me, I don't feel like me. And it was just like a release of like everything that I've been holding on to for all that time, of like unhappiness, of not knowing who I was, of like not being sure about what I was doing with my life. Just all this stuff that I've been holding on to, just this big release. And that's like what set me on this path of like developing myself, like, reading more self-help stuff, being more introspective, being more trying to understand my emotions, trying to be more in touch with everything. And off of the back of that conversation with my ex, I then went to a couple of therapy sessions, and I just didn't vibe with the therapist. There was just either I was holding something back, or it wasn't the right person or the right time. There was just something that didn't feel right. So I called it after like 5 sessions. I was like, look, I just said to her, look, I feel like I've come quite far just in fact I've been here, but I just don't feel like this is right for me right now. And I haven't gone back to it. I will do it at some point, but I'll know when the time's right. Have you ever?
Nah, it's something that I think about often though. Yeah. It's something that I think about often, because I understand that like so much is going on in life and so much is going on in one's mind. It's a lot, man. And everything needs to offload, man. Like everything needs to offload. And I think consciously knowing that I bottle things up and use them for what I think is just my benefit, there's probably another side to that bottle.
Yeah.
That if it ever gets a hole in it and starts leaking, you know what I mean? Who knows what can become of that? But I think, as I say, like I just trust in the fact that my mind and my heart knows what to do. So I feel like some things that I feel I just need to do, and it has a bigger purpose than just what it seems like.
Yeah.
Like, for argument's sake, like the book, in hindsight, it's a cool idea, but I think there's something more to it for me.
Yeah. Well, what would that be?
I can't always put my finger on it.
Yeah.
But I just understand that when I'm doing something, sometimes I'm like, this is more than just writing a book.
Yeah.
Like, even doing it, how I worked on it, what was coming out of me, I was like, this is bigger than words on the page. And it might not be for everyone else, but while I was working on it, I was like, you needed to do this. Like, I needed that.
Yeah.
And some things I just need, like some projects, maybe I just needed to do that. And that's just for me. Maybe it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but in the bigger scheme of things of what I needed at the time, I needed to do that.
Yeah.
And I think I just trust that my mind and my body knows when it's time to do these things, because I feel like it's important to, like, as a creative, it's important to get your ideas out how they need to be got out sometimes.
Yeah. Again, it's probably quite a therapeutic process of like going through stuff and working out and doing it because it's feeding you. And it's you know, you might, like I said, you might be putting it together in a book, but there's something beyond that is giving you back rather than you just giving the information for people, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that cycle of like doing stuff for the purpose behind it, whatever it is just like just magical stuff, man.
Yeah, and you never know what you're gonna get, but you need to, and also as well, like, I understand that I need to push myself. Like, I think in life at this present moment in time, I'm just going to the gym and I'm benching 10s.
Yeah.
When I'm capable of probably benching 40.
Yeah.
But I'm very comfortable doing 10s. So now it's like, okay, you think you're slick. Let's see what other areas you can move in and become Wretch 3-2 in book world. Let's see if you can become Wretch 3-2 in writing theatre plays and productions and stuff like that. So I think it's just a lot of challenges I wanna set myself as well.
Yeah, sick. And how are these lessons that you will, I guess, try to pass on to your kids for them to take on board as well?
I think the main thing I try and give my kids is, and it sounds like mad cliche, but nothing's impossible. If you decide. And I try and explain to them and try and make them understand the importance of decision making, because that's what's gonna guide them through life. I can give them £1 million. Well, I physically can't, but I'm saying you can give your child £1 billion.
Yeah.
This doesn't mean that the choices they make with that money will be the right choices. You can maybe afford to send your child to private school. They still have to decide to learn.
Yeah.
And to pass. The choice is always on the individual. So I explain to them the power of their choice. Like, it's an option. You have a choice. Like, you can finish your homework and leave it at that, but you have a choice to study a bit more. It's your choice. It's up to you. And I try and explain that to them daily, you know, to just get that into their mind. And I'm like, I'm not me because I rolled out of bed and fell into this body. Like, I made the choice and I decided that when everyone was raving or when everyone was going here and there, I was going to go studio. That was my choice.
Yeah. And how did they respond to that?
Well, I can't give it to them like that because of their age.
Yeah.
But I give it to them in smaller proportions, and I just see how they react to it. Like, my daughter reacts to it really well.
Yeah.
My son is different because he's a teenager, and right now teenagers want to play computer.
I was going to say, probably play FIFA.
Yeah, and they want to play Fortnite, they want to play GTA. they want to focus their energy on that. But even speaking to him about that, I'm like, you have a choice. That's your choice to play that game. But you making that choice means you're losing out in other areas where you could be doing other things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's about them understanding the power of the choice, man.
Yeah, it's really true. I think like choice is everything. It's like at the end of the day, you put your energy where you want to put it, and you put your attention where you want to put it, and you get out of that what you're putting
What
into
you're putting in, yeah.
100%. Is there anything you've taken from your parents that you're kind of almost passing into your kids?
Discipline. Like, my mum was militant. It was like the army. Like, nobody steps out of line to a senior. And I think it's important that kids are disciplined and they understand that there's boundaries that you can push with adults. So I never see my children being rude to any adult. I never see them standing out of line. I get great feedback. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I think more than anything, the discipline from my parents,
That's it. I think that's, again, it's important because there's such a battle, and it's an interesting one, and you probably know, as well as anyone, it's like the battle between creativity and discipline, because people think that they're opposites. Like, you can't be creative if you're being disciplined, and you can't be disciplined if you're being creative. But within creativity, you need to have the discipline to channel it, and vice versa.